Alright, in this video I'm going to go over all the questions on the study guide to help you prepare for your quiz tomorrow. So in these ones we have to write as a decimal, so this is 1 divided by 8. So we actually are going to do long division and do 1 divided by 8 like this. Here's the decimal. And so 8 goes into 1 0 times, and you do 0 times 8 to get 0, and we subtract. 1 minus 0 is 1. So now I'm going to bring this decimal straight up, add a 0 here, and keep going. So I see 8 goes into 10 one time. 1 times 8 is 8, and then we subtract to get 2. So add another 0, bring it down, and 8 goes into 22 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract. Still don't have a remainder of 0, so we keep going, add another decimal, bring it down, and 8 goes into 45 times. 5 times 8 is 40. There we go. We got a remainder of 0. So when you do this, make sure you then rewrite your final answer and box it in so it's easy to find. Okay, and number 2, we do the same thing. We have a whole number here, so we're going to stick that in front of the decimal of 1/3. So let's take 1 divided by 3. Remember, the first number goes in the house there. Here's our decimal. 3 goes into 1 0 times. So then we add the 0, bring it down. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. You get 1, add a 0, bring it down. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Alright, see a pattern going on here? We're going to get this every single time. It's just going to keep going on forever and ever and ever. So it's 3 repeating, but there's this 2 in front. So it's 2.3333333 repeating. Alright, now when we add and subtract fractions, you have to have a common denominator. Not with multiplying and dividing, just with adding and subtracting. So those are both 5, so we can go ahead and add, but this is a negative. So think of this as 2 plus negative 1. So when you add a negative, you really are subtracting. It's really 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. But we have 2/5 minus 1/5. So that leaves us with 1/5, because the denominator stays the same. Okay, now these decimals, we can just line them up if we want, but see, we're taking a negative plus a negative, so we're adding these together, and our answer is going to be negative. So remember, adding 2 negatives makes me go more negative, so you're adding this to be more negative. So we add these together to get 1.77. Again, write your answer out here, and it is going to be negative 1.77. Alright, now we're subtracting. So you see here we have minus and negative, so go ahead and make it this plus. When you subtract a negative, remember, really plus it. So we're going to add these together. We have a common denominator, so we can go ahead and add the top numbers. 7 plus 2 is 9. Bottom number stays the same. And then simplify this. 9 divided by 9 is 1. So simplify, reduce fractions as much as you can. Alright, here we have a negative minus a negative, so when you minus a negative, really add it. So it's negative 0.5 plus 0.25. So they have different signs, so that means we're actually going to subtract. Oops, different signs. So we subtract them. So subtract the smaller one from the bigger one. So this I expect you to do in your head, because it's like 50 cents minus 25 cents. You get 25 cents left. 2 quarters minus a quarter. Now which one's bigger though? The negative 0.5? 0.25. 0.5 is bigger, it's negative, so we're going to end up with negative. Negative 0.25. So think about this. I borrowed 50 cents, and then I gained a quarter. So I now am in debt only 1/4, 25 cents. Okay, multiplying, so a negative times a negative, I know is going to be a positive, whatever our answer is. And we set this up. You don't have to line up the place values. You just line this up, even though that's a tenth and that's a ones place. With multiplication, you don't have to line them up, the places here. So 4 times 3 is 12. So the end of the 12 goes there. There's not a number here to multiply by. 2 times 3 is 6. Remember, we put that here underneath the 2. And we add these together, fill that in. So that's 2, and that's 7. Now look at the decimal. We only have one decimal place over. So move this one over to get 7.2. Double check. 2 negatives make a positive. Okay, multiplying fractions, you just multiply straight across. But before I multiply, I'm going to use our hidden bam bam rule. This 4 is really the same as 2 times 2. So think of it as 2 times 2. And think of this 12 as 2 times 6. So that means I can cross out 2 of these 2s. It leaves me with a 2 here and a 6 here. And this 5 can cross out with a 5 in here. 5 times 3 is 15. So these 5's cancel. So that leaves me with 2 times 3 on the top. So I get 6. And on the bottom I have nothing here and just a 6. That's a 6. And 6 divided by 6 is 1. A negative times a negative is a positive. So it's positive 1. Okay, now dividing. Remember to, so we have a negative divided by a positive, so our answer is going to be negative. So take the first number here, it goes into the house, and this number goes outside of it. When dividing decimals, you have to change this number on the outside to a whole number. So we move that over and move that over. So I'm really taking 45 divided by 10.35 now. Alright, so 45 goes into 10 0 times, and the decimal goes after. 0 times 45 is 0, and we subtract, bring down the 3. 45 goes into 103 2 times. 2 times 45 is going to be 90. So we subtract, get 13. Now bring down the 5. So 45 goes into 135 how many times? Well, let's see. 45 plus 45 is 90. That's 2 times. And then plus 45 again. So that would be 135 exactly. So it goes in 3 times. Exactly. Oops. We get a 0 here. So here's our answer. 0.23, and it's negative. Because the negative divided by positive. So that's why I put that negative there, so I wouldn't forget the sign. Alright, now you divide fractions. You remember copy the first one, dot, flip. And always just make the top number negative. Copy dot flip, meaning we multiply by the reciprocal. Remember, when you divide, you want to multiply by the reciprocal. Alright. Now we have a lot of bam bam rules going on. These 11s cancel out. This 2 cancels out with one of those 2's. So I'm left with just a 2 on the top. There's nothing on the bottom, so you can put a 1. And 2 divided by 1 is really just 2. A negative divided by negative is a positive. Positive 2. These last 5 questions, just kind of combine everything and just make sure you do it in the right order, so order of operations. So we're going to add these together first. So when you add decimals, that's when you have to line up the right place value. So the tenths has to line up, the decimal lines up, and the ones place lines up. So we add these. That's 11, carry the 1. And then 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And the decimal goes straight down, 5.1. Now we multiply 3.2 times 5.1. Doesn't matter which one goes first with multiplication. So 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 2 is 10, 0 goes here, carry the 1. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16, so 16 like that. Add these together. And look at the decimal. It's moved over 2 spots, so this should be moved over 2 spots. So 16.32. Okay, so parentheses first here in 12. 4.5 divided by 4.5, those are the same number. So anything divided by itself is just 1. So it's 1 times 7.6. And anything times 1 is just itself. So our answer here is 7.6. They're all positive, so I have a positive for my answer. Alright, parentheses first here, common denominator, yay. So 7 plus 1 is 8 over 9. And then divided by negative 4/5. Okay, when you divide fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal. Copy, dot, flip. Okay, let's see, we can do a bam bam rule here. This 4 cancels out with the 4 here. 2 times 4 is 8. And I think that's all we can do. So 2 times 5 on the top is 10. And this 4 canceled out, so just a 9 on the bottom. And we have, it was a positive times a negative, so our answer is negative. And then let's go ahead and change this to a mixed number now. So 9 goes into 10 one time. And then subtract here, so you get 1 over 9. Okay, order of operations, we do the parentheses first. And then inside parentheses, you do order of operations. So multiplication and division, you do whichever one shows up first. So we're going to take 2 times 3 first, which is 6. And then take 6 divided by 12. That's not 2, because this is the bigger number. So 6 divided by 12 is actually going to be 1/2. You can take 6 divided by 12 like this. So just kind of double check your math too. So 12 goes into 6 0 times. Add the 0, bring it down, and 12 is going to go into 65 times. 5 times 12 is 60. So you get 0.5, which is the same as a half. So 2 divided by 0.5. So if you prefer to divide with decimals, you can do that. Or you can do it as a fraction, 2 divided by 1/2, because 1/2 and 0.5 are the same. I'm going to do the fraction because I think it's a little easier. Make this whole number into a fraction. And then copy dot flip 2 over 1 times, flip that over 2 over 1. Alright, so we can't do any bam bam rule. Just multiply across. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 divided by 1. Simplify that to get 4. Then check. I did all the steps. I got all the numbers there. I don't see any negatives, so positive 4 it is. Okay, last problem. This is an exponent. It might be hard to tell, but this is an exponent. So we do parentheses first. So we're subtracting these. Make 2 into a fraction, so we can subtract fractions. But before we do, we have to have a common denominator. So let's make this a 5 by multiplying by 5. And it's multiplied to the top by 5 as well. So 5 times 2 is 10. And 1 times 5 is 5. Okay, now that we have a common denominator, we can subtract the top numbers here. 10 minus 3 is 7. So I get 7/5. Okay, so that's what's in the parentheses is 7/5. So after the parentheses is the exponents. But first I have to take 1 plus 1 to get 2. So this whole thing is now squared, which means that's 7/5 times 7/5. So multiply those. 7 times 7 is 49. 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, and the last thing we do then, the problem is take that times 1/7. So 49 over 25 times 1/7. Okay, do you recognize the little bam bam rule we can do? 49 is 7 times 7. So this 7 can cancel out with this 7. So 7 times 1 on the top is 7. And on the bottom we're just left with 25. Can you reduce that? Nope, 7 doesn't go into 25. So that's our final answer, 7/25. And then I check. There weren't any negatives, so our answer is positive. Okay, hope that was helpful. Good luck on your quiz.